At this moment, I would like also to give very special thanks to NORRAG and the Credit Institute for International and Development Studies for all their very precious technical support and providing the interpretation. So let me now hand over to Ambassador Lauber, the permanent representative of Switzerland to the United Nations and the other international organizations in Geneva for the welcome remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you much, Petra. I hope you can hear me. Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to welcome you to this virtual launch, and I'm very pleased to see so many of you online. In fact, as Petra said, many more than we expected, and particularly many of you from around the world. Very welcome to all of you. Today, following the 2021 International Day of Education, we welcome together this official launch of the Geneva Global Hub for Education in Emergencies. This initiative has been in the making for some time, and I have been privileged to see it taking shape over the last few months. Indeed, it was back in December 2019, a little over a year ago, that Switzerland pledged to make Geneva a global hub for education in emergencies. This pledge, which we announced at the first Global Refugee Forum, reflects Switzerland's commitment to provide continued access to education for children affected by humanitarian crisis. Today, 127 million children, let this figure sink in for a moment, 127 million children find themselves out of school because they are displaced or caught in crisis, whether it is a conflict, a natural disaster, a pandemic, or anything else. As we all know, crisis situations are rarely short-term, but tend to last for months or even years. Among refugee children, nearly 1 out of 2 is out of school. This is as shocking as it is unacceptable. Education is not only a fundamental human right, but also a lifeline for children. It offers access to protection, to food, to health, to friends and mentors. It also equips children with new knowledge, helping them to become literate and in many other ways skilled for the future. And importantly, in the midst of chaos, education brings hope and a sense of stability for children and their families. So why Geneva as a home for this new global hub? As the world's humanitarian capital, Geneva is host to many actors who can make a difference for the education of crisis-affected children. For one, it is a vibrant diplomatic and multilateral community, but it also offers a rich tapestry of academic institutions, NGOs, and private sector entities, all of which operate in the education field or in spheres relevant to education. Think of humanitarian or the development area, migration, human rights, protection to peace building, climate, water, health. All of these issues are dealt with in Geneva and are relevant for education. Yet this wealth of expertise, of thinking and of influence that is the hallmark of International Geneva remains largely untapped when it comes to education in emergencies. There is a tendency to continue to operate in silos. We in Switzerland firmly believe that joining forces and facilitating synergies across sectors can and will accelerate access to education in emergencies. International Geneva shows strong potential for enabling joint action to make education a reality for the millions of children trapped in crisis situations, whether they are refugees, internally displaced, or affected in any other way. With your help, the Geneva Global Hub for Education in Emergencies will become a catalyst for change. It can inspire political commitment, increase engagement, widen participation, and raise financial support for education in emergencies. The Hub will contribute to accelerating progress towards SDG 4 and the commitments set out in the Global Compact for Refugees. Ultimately, the hub will be successful when its efforts translate into tangible change and impact at country level where the most acute needs are found. To the founding members of the hub, and let me quickly list them: Education Cannot Wait, the Global Education Cluster, the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies, the International Committee of the Red Cross, the Interagency Network for Education in Emergencies, UNICEF, the University of Geneva, UNESCO, UNHCR, and of course Switzerland. I urge all of us to be bold, creative, and innovative. To states and agencies interested in supporting this initiative, please know that your engagement is needed and welcome. Do stay tuned, as more information will be shared during this event for supporting the hub. Let me close by wishing the Geneva Global Hub for Education in Emergencies great success. At a time of unprecedented humanitarian needs, exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, we owe it to the millions of children out of school to make education in emergencies a priority. We must and will play our part here in Geneva. Thank you very much for your attention. Enjoy this launch, and with this, I'm now handing over the floor to our moderator, Yasmin Sharif, the Director of Education Cannot Wait. Yasmin, the floor is yours. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Lauber, for your opening. We still do have a little bit of technical difficulties to bring Jasmine on. So let me turn to the next segment. To the children, youth and teachers, our colleagues living in regions affected by crisis. They have an important message they'd like to share with us. So I invite you to listen.
الطريق كان كتير صعب وشوك وشرطان وكنا كتير خايفين. أول شغلة خسرت أبوي وبعدين خسرت دراستي 3 سنين. أنا المدرسة هي حياتي وأنا بحبها كتير وأتعلم بيها وأقرأ وألعب مع رفقاتي والشيء اللي ما بعرفه رفقاتي علمني إياه واللي ما يعرفنه يعلمهن إياه.
We have seen a number of children coming in this operation, and as one of the immediate responses, we have tried to set up temporary learning shelters where children can have opportunity to come, interact, try to maintain their skills, and also provide opportunities for psychosocial support for them. We want to ensure that the children don't lose touch with issues of education. And then the critical challenges that continue to exist is the issue of availability of spaces for children to continue learning, especially as we focus on having this education response shape up to a more stable situation, which will mean we'll need to have more permanent or semi-permanent classes that can help us transition to formal learning.
The armed conflict in eastern Ukraine that started in 2014 continues to have a fundamental devastating impact upon children, youth, school personnel, and the whole education system. During the most active phase of the conflict, many schools have been damaged, destroyed, or closed. We are now in Marinka School number 2 that is located about 500 to 700 meters from the line of contact. We think that it is important to keep schools open, even in conflict zones close to the front line when it's possible. During the situations of conflict, we must not forget about the most marginalized learners, such as children with disabilities or those without parental care. Here we have created a modern classroom for children with disabilities that will enable quality access to education according to the national standards.
أنا بحب كتير المدرسة بس ما بقدر عاد شوف هيك الأطفال عم بيلعبوا وأنا ما بلعب بنقهر كتير مشتيروا عن المدرسة.
کرونا دنیا را به بحران برده، مخصوصا کشور عزیز ما افغانستان را که به دلیل بحران‌های سیاسی و امنیتی این بحران را تشدید کرده. به همین دلیل اطفال عزیز ما از نعمت درس خواندن محروم شدند، مخصوصا دختران. مخصوصا در دوران قرنطینه بیماری کرونا که تعداد از شاگردان متاسفانه عزیزای خود از دست دادن و خودشون دچار بیماری شدن و همین مسئله باعث شده که اینا فعلا راحت نتونن در درس‌های خود رسیدگی بکنن و این مشکل کمی براشون جدی‌تر شده.
The biggest challenge is inadequate learning space, learning materials, as well as discrimination based on gender that will deny access to girls to go to school, like early marriage, forced marriage.
Es clave el protagonismo de los estados, de los organismos internacionales, regionales y otros actores comprometidos para impulsar el fortalecimiento de los sistemas de gestión, de información, de monitoreo de las trayectorias, así como también de la producción de conocimiento para la definición de las políticas educativas adecuadas.
One of the major challenges that is facing children to access education nowadays is that duty bearers are not really respecting their fundamental right to education during crisis. For example, here in the occupied Palestinian territory, the education cluster has been reporting hundreds of violations and attacks against education facilities and personnel on an annual basis. As we speak, we have 52 schools under imminent threat of demolition in West Bank alone. Education is one of the few elements that brings normalcy to children and their families during crisis. Unfortunately, education is not always a priority in emergency responses and is often underfunded. Together, we need to ensure that education is in the heart of every emergency response and is always fully financed. Together, we need to advocate that every child has the right to access quality, inclusive and safe education, regardless of their background or circumstance, and even in the most difficult situations and crises.
زیرا تنها راه رسیدن به صلح و آرامش درس و تعلیم و تربیت می باشد.
Ensuring continuity of education and safe and adequate learning environment is a humanitarian and development priority.
Education is fundamental and is really critical in determining the future choices for children. During crisis, education can be both life-sustaining and life-saving. It is a right for all children and is vital for the enjoyment of other human rights.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the children who had this message to tell to us and to colleagues in the field, teacher. I believe very strong words. We are now lucky that technology is working, and we have Jasmine Sharif with us, the Director of Education Cannot Wait. I do believe we have her on video, Jasmine. So we would then go to the speakers. I know Ms. Giannini, she will have to leave very soon. If we could start from them, then following by ICRC, if that's possible at all.
Please go ahead. Would you like me to introduce my dear friend, Stefania from UNESCO? I would like to do so. And I also would like to apologize to all colleagues for the technical hiccups. I think it's a shared burden. I'm not very technological, but then we are all crisis people, so we don't give up until we get where we want to be, and here we are. First of all, I would like to thank Ambassador Lauber, who so graciously started off the meeting, and the Swiss government for taking the prompt and solid step to open the Geneva Hub. And we are all behind you. I'm very proud of that. Now I would like to hand over to Stefania Giannini, who is a dear friend of mine from UNESCO with a long experience, previous education minister of Italy, and a wonderful colleague to work with together with all of UNESCO. Handing over to you, Stefania.
Thank you very much, Yasmin. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Well, it's a great pleasure really to join you in this on this important occasion of the launching of this Global Hub in Geneva for Education in Emergencies. Let me start very briefly from what one of the little girl in the video, touching video, by the way, said, "School is my life." I think this is the starting point of what you're doing together. And this is the real meaning of this initiative, which in my opinion is about providing a platform first to strengthen our cooperation among education in emergencies actors, from civil society to academia, education communities on the ground, and UN agencies, of course. And I really commend and thank the Swiss authorities for such an initiative, and Education Canada being one of the main players, as usual, in this important field. And I think it's very much about bringing together better and more development and the humanitarian side of the work you are doing in education in emergencies. And I'm sure that this hub also will contribute to reducing fragmentation. You know, we have a lot of initiatives. This is not something else, but this is very much about combining inclusion, political influence, and effectiveness on the ground. The third and last point I would like to stress, if you allow me, is about looking at this initiative as Geneva Global Hub as an important and necessary platform to advocate for increased funding for education and for more equitable allocation of resources. This is a common mission we have, Yasmin, this year has been a critical one in this COVID-19 response. We saw a lot of new kind of international solidarity, and I think the education community has been done a lot of good examples of how we can you know, we can give solutions to governments and education communities. And when we are talking about children in a situation of conflicts and post-conflicts, of course, the challenge is higher. So I really welcome this initiative, and UNESCO is ready to contribute in terms of policies, in terms of planning, statistics, all the expertise, you know, we are putting on the table. Thank you. Over.
Thank you very much, Stefania. We are very happy that UNESCO also so strongly wants to join and be part of this very important initiative. And so welcome on board. And I know that you are busy and that you have to run, but you will stay with us in spirit. I know you so well.
Yes,
thank you, my dear. We have a number of other panelists, and I got the latest breakdown of distinguished panelists just a few minutes ago. But let me read them out for you. Besides Stefania Giannanini, we will also meet with Miss Hina Shikhani, a young Afghan refugee born in Pakistan and a student of business administration at the University of Peshawar. We'll meet with Helen Durham, Director of Law and Policy at ICRC, Mr. Fadi Yarak, Director General of the Ministry of Education and Higher Education in Lebanon, Mr. Giancarlo De Picciotto, Head of International Cooperation, Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation in Mali, with Mr. Dean Brooks, Director of International Network for Education Emergencies, and Mr. Carl Blanchett, Director of Geneva Center for Humanitarian Studies and Academic Director in Zone. So I just want to warmly welcome you all, and again apologize for the delay in the technicalities. So I just want to make sure that Ms. Hina Shikhani is with us right now. Are you with us? Hello? Is Hina with us?
I do believe she's with us until we can make her microphone to work if we go over to Ms. Durham from ICRC.
Absolutely. And ICRC is a great organization, by the way. I started my career there at the legal department as an intern in 1988. I was very active in the Swedish International Committee for the Red Cross. So it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Helen Durham, Director of Law and Policy at the International Red Cross Committee. Please.
Thank you very much, and so lovely to be part of this and to see the amazing heights our interns and associates get to. We've got over 25 in our department, so warmly lovely to hear that you've got that background. Well, in relation to the specific issue, as people may be aware, the ICRC's engagement in support of education became more structured a couple of years ago with the adoption of our first framework and strategy on access to education. Now, of course, the framework didn't create any new areas of expertise in the ICRC, but rather it served to steer our protection and our assistance teams to take into account education-related needs and incorporate them in our response globally where possible. So this framework has also helped us structure our engagements with other components of the Red Cross, Red Crescent movement, the wonderful national societies, who play a very important role in the field of education in many, many countries. So at the moment, we have educational or education-related activities embedded in existing programs in around 30 operational contexts, including dedicated projects in 5 countries and a growing network of access to educational focal points within our field teams. And I think these activities depend very much on the context. And what is so wonderful too about this event is to see and hear so many contexts coming together with this passion around education. And so they build on our existing expertise. For example, part of our broader dialogue with parties to armed conflict, so the weapons bearers, as we call them, about their obligations under international humanitarian law, we have specific interactions about the protection of educational personnel and learners who are deemed civilians, and of educational facilities such as civilian objects, as well as specific educational related obligations towards children. So that's important, embedding this into a wider discourse about obligations under international humanitarian law. For example, as a part of our broader detention program, we work with some prison authorities to foster education opportunities for detainees. And for instance, in South Sudan, we supported the construction of juvenile reform centres in the Juba Central Prison, which really allowed children to receive formal education, vocational training, and to prepare themselves to reintegration. So we think we must not also forget those in detention. And finally, just to flag, we work with school communities and education authorities to strengthen the safety and the security of schools in areas affected by conflict and violence, based on our expertise in protection, mine risk education, security risk management, and infrastructure rehabilitation. And we saw that just in that beautiful video, which highlighted the work in Ukraine, but also in Brazil. We've worked with authorities to set up institutional risk management protocols in schools in areas affected by violence. And for example, in Rio de Janeiro, this program helped reduce the number of closures by 46%. Despite an increase of over 38% in shootings in the same areas. So I think there's really important wide things that we're really delighted to be part of this, learning as we go along. So in summary, our added value in I would say in this process is our contacts with authorities and weapons bearers and our long history of that, our proximity to populations affected in hard to access or reach areas, our expertise in operating in areas affected by conflicts and violence, often outside the control of government, and that's critical in areas. We know that over 66 million people globally are under the control of not governments, but non-state armed groups. So we need to make sure we focus on those and our multidisciplinary operational models. So very excited to be part of this. We need to learn. We want to contribute a lot to this hub. We're new on the scene, but we think that our specific expertise has something to add. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Durham. And you know, you are the guardian, ICRC, of international humanitarian law, and it came about by Henri Dunant, together with 2 or 3 friends. So it shows that a small group of people can change the world because we have an international legal framework. And I think the challenge we have in the world is to bridge that gap between law and compliance. But there are many ways to do it. And ICRC are doing a beautiful way and a beautiful work in doing it in your own very unique way, and actually achieving results. And I think your examples of juvenile justice is just one very, very good example, but in so many other ways. And all the great admiration from myself and my colleagues at Education cannot wait. Thank you so much. Now I will move on to, is Miss Hina Shikani back with us?
Yes, I'm here.
You are. Hina Shikani. I will now then move, you will be number 2 here. You are a refugee yourself, and you come from Afghanistan, which after I had been with ICRC and the UN in Geneva, I went to Afghanistan in 1990. So it's a country that is very dear to my heart, very dear to my heart. And you are a refugee yourself, and you have learned from experience that education in crisis and does not affect all children and youth equally. You know, there's a difference when you are in a crisis, because you have multiple crises to deal with, and conflict and armed conflict is perhaps the most abnormal crisis that you can ever deal with. So as a refugee child, or now you're refugee adolescents and you're older than that, you face significant barriers in accessing learning opportunities because of not just poverty and discrimination, and my heart bleeds for Afghanistan since the decades of war and poverty and discrimination. For you, what are the most striking gaps for a refugee child or adolescent in accessing quality education?
Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to this session. And I must say, I'm so excited for the launch of this event and its aim. The aim of this hub really resonates with the idea that is very close to my heart, education. And as you stated, being born and raised in Pakistan, I must say as a child, I never realized, because I didn't go out in a way, that I was at home, and until I stepped up for education. So I must say, seeing around in my society as well, and the certain people, my communities and family, not encouraging and supporting education, particularly of girls' education. So I believe that was one of the motivating factors that drove me to where and who I am today, because I believe in this idea and the notion that only through education we're able to transform ourselves, our lives, and the lives of the people in our community. So I graduated my primary school in a local Pakistani education, and luckily I got good grades and performance, so I was very hopeful, I must say, to get one of the renowned universities and colleges here. But the one of the gaps that I would like to mention would be that I faced personally was the discrimination, because where I applied in the college, out of 500 local seats, there was only 1 refugee seat allocated, and that was quite competitive despite my grades and performance. So I applied in a private college because I didn't want to lose heart and let this label define my future or the dreams that I have. So I got admission in a private college and a scholarship, and later on in my university, I knew it beforehand that I'm going to see this challenge, so I have to be proactive. But luckily this time I won that 1 seat, and today I'm the only refugee female in my business school. But I must say, later on, I realized that it's not just about me now. It's also about the other students and the other children who had the right to quality education but couldn't due to the limited opportunities for refugees, for the displaced children. But aside with the limited opportunities, I must say there are the financial crisis, challenges, the cultural language barrier, and most specifically after the COVID, I must say it's also the psychosocial challenges that the displaced children and the youth go through. And that should be taken as one of the factors and one of the gaps due to which they not just limit their access to education, not just primary, however, higher education, but also it's a challenge for them to remain in that school or that university. So aside from the gaps, I must say that I have always focused on this point that education is not a luxury. It's a basic necessity which should be given, and everyone have the right to make their dreams come true. So it needs a close cooperation of every sector, humanitarian, development, political, and the civil society as well, in order to invest in education, because investing in education is equal to investing in a more resilient, more educated, and more sustainable goals, which we are foreseeing to attain by 2030. That's quality education. And the focus should be more on increasing opportunities, ensuring the participation of girls particularly, and also displaced children, fostering inclusion in context of displaced children, and also by providing safer learning environment for them, so that they can attain and can grow like just like the other people who does in their host communities. And this is a benefit not just for that they will when they go to their nation. However, it's good for the host country. It's good for the whole world that is moving into a more resilient world. And just to conclude, I wish a very good luck for the hub, and I'm really expecting this hub to bring hope and opportunities for all the children and youth in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much to you. First of all, I want to congratulate you so very much, because you've gone on a journey that is absolutely amazing, which shows the resilience of refugees. Refugees have an incredible resilience, and those who suffer conflicts have it. And, you know, a strong girl with resilience, she is the storm. She is not afraid of the storm. And you are one of those, and you are certainly our hero. And you will be a big hero for the Global Hub for Education and Emergency in Geneva. So we hope to stay in close contact with you and receive your advice continuously on how we can make the hub the most useful to those who are displaced, refugees, and who are suffering in conflict and emergencies. Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank
you are our hero. Thank you, my
me.
dear. Bye. Thank you. Then I will move on to the next speaker. So Hina has just given us a wonderful presentation. And we have also a presentation by Ms. Durham and Ms. Gianni. I think the next one is Mr. Fadi Yarak, Director General of the Ministry of Education and Higher Education. Am I right or wrong here?
Right, Yasmin.
Yes, we met just, 3 weeks ago in Beirut. It's wonderful to see you again, but it was very sad to see the situation in Lebanon because of the explosion. Lebanon also hosts the biggest per capita refugee population, both Palestinian refugees and Syrian refugees. And it's a country that deserves and has earned the full support of the world. And we hope that the hub in Geneva will be there for you as much as you need us. We have a great respect for you, Mr. Yarak, and you are also a dear friend. I'm handing over to you now. Now I'm supposed to ask you a question. So let me quickly run down here. So my question to you is, this is what happens with technology, you know. But I think not to keep people waiting, maybe since I can't find your question here. Yes, I have it here. What would you like yes, what does education mean for children who are affected by crisis or have to flee violence? So you would know that, given your hosting of so many refugees, and also the impact that had on Lebanese communities and Lebanese children, it's important to bear them in mind. And the second question is, what would you like to see from the hub so that it makes a change for children and youth in Lebanon and the wider region, because we need you. Over to you, Mr. Yarak.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you to the organizers and the hosts for this great event. Actually, the hub is an amazing idea that we thank Switzerland for hosting it. Education is a need. Education for all children living in emergency is a need. Education is a right, not a privilege, not a luxury. In emergencies, children suffer first and suffer most. They are especially vulnerable to abuse, to extreme poverty. They face extreme conditions, such as being forced to flee homes, neighborhoods, seeing loved ones hurt, leaving their school, their teacher. So uncertainty is in emergencies and in crisis. Here comes the role of education, to bring hope and stability, to bring safety and assurance. Well, what I have seen in Lebanon and my region, in the Arab countries, is that no matter how cruel the conflict is, parents are still fighting for education opportunities for their children, and this is so important. Culturally, it is important. We have evidence that education and access to school provide children with holistic and comprehensive package for their development and well-being. We have evidence that education offers the necessary skills and competences needed to face the challenges of the crisis and the challenges of life. Well, we are now, Lebanon has been promoting education in emergency since the beginning of the crisis, Syrian crisis. We thank your support as ECW and others, but the pandemic now is in a big issue in Lebanon. The sharp financial crisis and the Beirut blast, I mean, these are priorities that have shifted towards not only the refugees where we live. I mean, we host the highest number of refugees, but also all children in Lebanon. So access is still a priority for us. However, innovating education practices to respond to the closure of schools has been our daily business. We need to ensure education and to continue give education to everyone, to all children. As for the hub, Yasmin, we count a lot. I mean, I think the hub here, it's important, it's a needy initiative. From my perspective, I would like to focus on 3 specific points. First, the importance of a comprehensive approach. The need to plan for long term with focus on quality. This is also number 2. And third, pressing need for increasing finance for education in situations of emergency. I think the hub should be I would say the best platform to advocate for these 3 things. I know how you and other colleagues are working, EIE, ECW, GPE, and others. It's important here with this important group of stakeholders to think about tomorrow, to ensure the 3 things: continuity in education, long-term thinking, quality to keep children and bring them to a future life, and financing. Without financing, no one can fuel the education engine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my dear friend Fadi, and thank you. And I see many sending comments saying, well said, well said. You're a very respected and admired official and education leader globally. And I think what you stressed here is that we need financing to ensure that we have a comprehensive approach and that we have a long-term quality. So the hub will also need to take on a very strong role in unleashing new resources. We got to win the word solidarity, and Lebanon has moved from being a middle-level income country with all its burdens to now reaching poverty lines. Lebanon needs to be given priority, and you have our commitment to that. Thank you very much, Fadi. Thank you so very much. Shukran Kati. Merci beaucoup. I will now move on to Mr. De Picciotto, who is the head of international cooperation at the Swiss Agency for Developmental Cooperation in Mali. And Mr. Picciotto, you are joining us from Bamako. Is that correct?
That is correct. Hello, everyone.
I love Italy. I love Italy. Do I pronounce your name correctly, Picciotto?
De Picciotto, that's right.
Yeah, I love Italy. It's a beautiful country. Yeah?
Very good.
But you know, people have problems pronouncing my name sometimes as well. I've learned not to take that personally, but it's such a beautiful language too. You know, last year the Danish development minister Dag Inge Ulsten and I, we visited Bamako and Mali and Mopti. So I know that the conditions that you are sitting in are absolutely horrendous. You see the reality on the ground. You're not calling in from another office, you're calling in from that reality right now. So I think it will be very important for all of us to hear your reflection on what's going on the ground. And the questions I will ask you are, first of all, and we know about the insecurities out there, how has the prevailing insecurity impacted education for children and youth? That's the first question. And what do you expect from the Geneva Hub for Education in Emergencies? And I'm handing over the floor to you now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Yasmin, and good afternoon, good day, good afternoon, good morning, everyone around the world. It's a pleasure to be with you today. You know, I'm going to talk about Mali and the Sahel, and I'd like to underscore that education is a key challenge across the Sahel, and this is a structural weakness that predates the current insecurity wave. This education crisis is not new. Now, attacks against and misuse of schools by combatants, as well as threats against teachers and students, have become very common. And this thing that you get used to the situation is one of our worst enemies in the field. Because this further deteriorates the situation of children and deprives them of their right to education. The COVID-19 pandemic is further worsening this critical situation for the children, and particularly for girls, displaced children, and those living in the streets. And we need to acknowledge that there are a lot of those children living in the streets today in the Sahel region. Many schools have been fully or partially closed across all three countries to limit the spread of COVID. But one might ask why closing schools and not closing markets. I'm not here to give answer to that question, but what we know is that this is affecting the education of millions of children. They are out of school, and they are adding to the burden of parents on how to make ends meet at the end of the month. Having children impedes parents to go about their work and their businesses. And this COVID difficulties come on top of an already witnessed 7-fold increase in school closures due to violence. Now, a lot of these children will now miss a nutritious meal. I'm referring to the meals that are distributed in school in the Sahel region. These children might never return to school, but instead try to find work, get married off for the girls mainly, or may even become associated to armed groups because they look for alternatives, or they are simply pushed by their families to do that. And this erodes all progress made in the last decade in the Sahel region in the name of a larger inclusion of children in the educational system. And of course, this also heavily affects children's protection, their health, and general well-being. Now, how can the hub contribute to tackling the situation and giving a couple of answers to that? Now, I think we first need to take due notice that the underlying reasons for children and youth to undertake to go into movement and try to find better options is that they know that education will open doors for them to realize their dreams and aspirations, as well as fulfilling their societal obligation. And I believe that the Geneva Hub might be a place where the interest for governments of origin countries to invest more political energies in education might be made explicit. Let's have this conversation and let's invest in education in the Sahel region based on a common understanding. Secondly, I think we need to realize that this youth in movement represents the majority of the region's population. Said majority is the future of the region, and we all better convince this future generation that they have responsibilities in their zone of origin. It's going beyond the individual needs and thinking more globally. And the Geneva Hub might be, again, a platform for discussing the importance of offering this youth in movement a response to the legitimate craving for education, for example, by facilitating the inclusion in the educational system of the country they find themselves at the moment we are speaking. Yes. And if I have 2 more minutes, I would say that clearly at the global level, we need to do more so that the children experiencing and fleeing violence can go to a safe school and earn a degree. But beyond the formal aspects of degrees, and it is extremely relevant in a region like the Sahel where movement is part of tradition, so beyond the formal aspects of degrees, I'm convinced that the Geneva Global Hub for Education in Emergencies will be a unique platform to discuss the benefits of the recognition of remedial education as opposed to the formal degree system that might, and that's a very personal remark, might have outdated the needs of the moment. And finally, Switzerland as a donor and humanitarian actor at the same time is fully committed to reducing the duplication of efforts, increase synergies, and address gaps. I thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Giancarlo. Thank you so much. And I think what you really stressed is the violence and the violations, which comes back to what Mr. Durham said, also when we see the targeting of schools, we see the targeting of teachers, we see the targeting of students. So the insecurity is enormous, and as you said, also is bringing on an enormous regression back in the progress that was made earlier, and that the Sahel not be a forgotten region. Your points on government involvement is very important, and I think it's important for us all to remember that Geneva is the capital of the world for humanitarian contexts, not necessarily. Yes. That means whether you do development or you do humanitarian work, and education is to do development in a humanitarian setting, but it is the capital. We have all the UN member states there. We have Palais des Nations, we have the ICRC, we have UNHCR, many main organizations, but it is the capital of humanitarian context in the world. And we have the governments around there. We must make the full use of that. And thank you so very much for your contribution. And we will also need your guidance as we go along, and look forward to staying in very close touch with you, Giancarlo, because the field must drive our responses, and you are there. Thank you so much. I will now move on to our next colleague, and I will see if Dean Brooks is with us.
Hello, Dean? Hello, Yasmin.
Yes. Yeah. So let me introduce. I feel like the whole world is my friends. My friend. Dean is also just another dear colleague and friend with whom we worked very closely over the past years. And we are so excited to launch the hub together with you, as we are with UNESCO and the Swiss government and everyone else that is joining us. So I'm turning to you now, my dear friend Dean, with a couple of questions. My first question would be, and you have a long experience, you served for long in the field, and the INNI just celebrated its 20th anniversary, and I had the honor to speak at that celebration. And you are producing great work that we all need and we all utilize. My first 2 questions, well, the 2 questions to you is first, if you could give me some specifics on how the Geneva Hub will make a change. How do you see it making a change? And then the second is, of course, INNI being a 2 decades old network for education in emergencies. How will you contribute to make that change happen? Over to you, Dean. Welcome, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. So good to see you, and I look forward to the time we can see each other again. Such challenging times all of us are living through at the moment. So yeah, we have heard from the previous speakers about the obstacles that young children and youth face. I mean, congratulations to Hina, my goodness, to be the only refugee to win that scholarship. It's just incredible. And her experience is shared by millions. I think that's a really important point. Even before COVID-19 and the pandemic, new data that INEE recently published for our 20th anniversary shows that 127 million children and young people in countries have been out of school. The number as a community we've often used is 75 million, but this data, and I urge you to take a look at that report, everyone on the call, because this is half of the total global out of school population, and this was before the pandemic. So what has happened now? It's devastating. And as we know, the pandemic has heightened the challenges faced by all of us around the world, everyone on this call. So, you know, we believe the Geneva Hub will really contribute to the change that's needed to meet the commitments we all have for the SDGs, SDG 4 in particular, to deliver safe, inclusive, and equitable quality education for all, and the Global Compact for refugees. The Hub builds on the strengths, functions, and mandates of its members. I think that's really important. All of us will be contributing with our various strengths to really mobilize action among the humanitarian development, peace, and human rights actors in Geneva. As you said, Yasmin, Geneva is the global capital. It is international Geneva. There's so much potential to harness that power. So even though the Hub will be focused on Geneva, it's also our opportunity to amplify, elevate the voices of those affected by crisis through our partners and members in the field. You know, as you know, INE is more than 18,000 members. This is our chance to bring those voices so that those actors in Geneva can hear and act. It will also promote diversity and seek to create equity in our policy dialogue, rather than just a new institution. So INE will be a strategic partner. We are. We're one of the founding members. And it aligns with our functions as a network. In answer to your question, INE exists for community building and convening and knowledge management, to amplify and advocate the voices of our members, to facilitate and learn, and then to provide the tools and resources that are needed for those who are delivering education in emergencies. A number of questions I see in the chat around quality of education. That's why INE is there. INE is for you. We work in 5 languages. Come to our website, download the tools and resources you need, or ask us the questions. I mean, we're a community of practice focused on quality for education in emergencies. And then finally, at just a very practical level, Yasmin, years ago, when I was much younger, I remember going to Geneva as a consultant, thinking, okay, I'm going to meet with the cluster and I'm going to meet with UNHCR. And I thought they all were in the same building, but they weren't. And I ended up having to search, and I got lost. This was before Google. And, you know, just very practically, for us to have a space where we can come together, where those visiting Geneva can find everybody they need in one place and see that collaboration take place. I mean, that's exciting. Or even the fact that we could have a venue where we could actually gather and bring voices from the field. I mean, this is incredible, and it's taken, you know, that was 20 years ago. So it's taken us a while to get here, but wow, this is an exciting time, and clearly this is a chance to really harness that potential, and very happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And I think we all know how you are the convener and brings and the strong support of collaborative approaches, how we have to come together. And that's why INNE plays an important role, together with all the great research that you do and the standard setting and the policy making that we all can apply, so that we have consistency across the board. So the hub will play an important role, and that will be an amazing contribution from INNE. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, your knowledge, and your insights. And I think we also want civil society to, and I know we share that thoughts, civil society to feel also a very strong inclusion in the hub, together with UN agencies and governments. Thank you so much, Dean. Cannot wait to see you in person when this COVID-19 is over. I'm back in New York in case you swing by. See you. Thank you so much. Now I will turn on, before we take it, we are going to have comments and questions. I will have to go and pick up another phone to be able to follow that because I'm using my iPhone for this meeting. So I apologize if I disappear for a couple of seconds. But before doing so, I would like to turn and we open up for comments and questions that I will share with the distinguished panelists. I would like to introduce Professor Carl Blanchet, Director of the Geneva Center of Humanitarian Studies, which is a joint center of the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies and the University of Geneva, two internationally renowned centers of academic excellence, which both have signed the pledge and which is at the heart of this new hub. One of my children has actually graduated from the academy, and I know that this is as good as it gets academically. And I had myself taught at university. I think we need academia more than ever. And so I'm going to turn over to you, Professor Blanchet, and I'd like to ask you specifically, how do you see academia contribute to make a difference for the education of children and young people that we've heard about today in Lebanon, in the Middle East, in West Africa, in Asia, in South America and beyond? And if there is time also, and I think it's important, how would you like to see how academia contributes to the hub? Because we clearly look to you as a very strong partner, and you're also part of founding the hub. So I hand over to you, Professor Carl, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yasmin, and very, very pleased and honored to be here. Having academics as active members of the Geneva Hub is a real privilege. We do think that education issues can only be resolved through a multi-stakeholder strategy. And we heard about and from Hina, and I think as academic, we do think that Hina should not be the exception. So what we need to do is to create a different environment for people affected by humanitarian crises, refugee populations, displaced populations. And I do think that we can contribute by bringing a better analysis of what we mean by humanitarian crises. And this could be done by political science, but we can also contribute by identifying the silent crises, the forgotten crises, making sure that everybody is going to get access to education wherever they are. And unfortunately, a lot of people do not have voices. So if you imagine a large university like University of Geneva or the Graduate Institute, you have access to so many disciplines: education, psychology, medicine, law, science. And all these people, all these disciplines can actually contribute to education. What do we mean by education? We not only talk about primary education, secondary and tertiary education, but as well training for teachers. And a lot of my colleagues, for example, at the Faculty of Education are working on training of teachers. So as academic, we can really enhance the country level impact of education through better data, evidence on what works and what doesn't work and why it works or doesn't work, trying to find explanations. We can help promote innovative research, but as well innovative solutions that can help people find solutions for their own environment and their own community. But as well, we can document and measure progress in terms of inclusiveness, for example, learning outcomes, but as well long-term impacts. I'm talking here about quality of life. I'm talking about well-being. I'm talking about resilience of individuals and communities. We can also, and this is what we do in Geneva and at University of Geneva and the graduate, is about offering courses. And we do that to, in many, many different ways. So the Faculty of Education, for example, has a specific course on education in emergencies. The Horizon academic program at University of Geneva helps refugees in Geneva start their studies again by helping them having access to courses. And we have an in-zone program. And this in-zone program is about offering courses to refugee populations in refugee camps. So today we work in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya, we work in Jordan, in Azraq, and very soon we're going to work in Francophone West Africa for refugee populations. So in many ways, there are different ways of enhancing education and making sure that it is accessible, and academics, wherever they are, and we are here with, I'm talking about two institutions, but I know that there are a lot of institutions who are doing a lot in this sector, not exclusively Swiss universities, but many universities. Today we are working with Kenyatta University in Kenya. We are working with a few universities in Jordan, for example. So what we're going to bring to this hub, which is a fantastic initiative, is we are going to bring our network of academic universities, specifically the ones located in affected countries. And so I would like to thank again the Swiss government for their initiative, and we are very, very privileged to be part of this great network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Blanchette. And I think you raised many important and inspiring points as well. But something that struck me that I think is important and the real weight of academia is the ability to connect dots and to be multi-sectoral. Leonardo da Vinci once said, learn how to see, realize that everything connects to everything else. And this is precisely what you said. It's psychology and education. It is sociology, economy, medicine, having the holistic approach and connecting the dots. And I think that will be your absolutely added value. And I look forward very much for all of us in the hub to work closely with you and the Institute and the university and with you personally, Professor Blanchet. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. Now we'll move on, and again, you know, here I am on my iPhone trying to get this organized well, and we may have run over time, but we are supposed to take questions. So I'm going to ask the organizers whether we are moving on to questions, because I need to go and get another iPhone to see the questions. I can't see them from here. So the organizers, are we doing that? Am I taking the questions, or should I wrap up my part here and just say something from my heart? I ask the organizers.
Okay, Jasmine, thank you so much. And I understand it's hard to join this from a phone. So maybe if you can give a few wrap up and comments from your heart, and then I will walk through some of the questions we have received in the chat box.
Lovely. So I hand over the questions to you then.
Yes.
I think it's a great example of collaboration, right? So let me just say what has come up here. I mean, it's important. Abnormal suffering or abnormal challenges require extraordinary solutions. And with the Swiss government taking the lead in launching for the first time ever the Geneva Hub for Education Emergency, we are now offered with an extraordinary solution to break the silos, to use solid analysis, to connect the dots, to be close to the field, to reach all member states of the United Nations, while at the same time, the ICRC that plays such an instrumental role, and all the civil society groups that are represented in Geneva. We all agree that when we deal with education in emergencies and crisis, we are speaking about rights. We are speaking about duties, human rights or duties under international humanitarian law. And education is one such right or duty. But we need also to see solidarity. We need to see humanity. We need to see political will in order to bring all of this together towards learning outcomes. So my suggestion for the way forward, and education cannot wait, we are honored to be part of this initiative. We are honored to be part of the founder. But the best way for us to succeed in materializing the vision of the Swiss government, and that we all share by creating the Geneva Hub for Education Emergency, the best we can do is to start by becoming the vision ourselves. Let's be the example. We become the vision. That's how the vision eventually materializes. And with that, I will end and say thank you very much from my side. And thank you and congratulations for the launch today. And thank you, everyone. Look forward to meeting all of you in person in Geneva very soon. Half of the ECW team is there already. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine, for moderating and for taking us through this very engaging conversation. So for the ones who don't know me yet, I am the coordinator of the Geneva Global Hub for Education in Emergencies. And I will lead us through the question and answer session. And we have received already a few from the chat box about who will be able to join the Hub. So I wanted to mention that the Hub is very much eager to open up for a wider partnership, for joint collaboration. We are open for government and non-governmental entities, civil society organization, networks, academia. Individuals are not able to join at this moment, as we really want to bring in the organization having this wider representation and collaborating together for joint action to make a difference for the children and youth that are located in crisis context and cannot access education or quality education, as it was mentioned so many times today. My colleague Gabriela Miranda will paste her email into the chat box. And if you're interested in joining and receiving more information, please do reach out to her and we will be in touch for further partnerships. We're also interested to engage with private sector, and you can engage in a number of ways, and please do also be in touch with my colleague. With that, I would ask Gabriela to put up a brief slide just to summarize. We have heard so much about the Hub today, and we would like just to show you visually what the Hub, its mission, its objective, and its goals. So you have heard today, we really want to work with this huge number of actors in Geneva for transformative joint action. It is a physical and a virtual hub. Physical offices will be open from mid-year on, and we will be able to invite collaborators and hopefully also hold events at the hub. And in terms of goals, we really want to grow the demand for change. So strengthen policy and integrated approaches across sectors. We want to inspire political will and commitment and influence agenda setting. We have read in the chat box about the neglected crisis, about crises that are now very acute, and we want to work with different sectors to highlight the education and emergencies needs, the capacities already available, but what's needed more from Geneva actors. And of course, we do all of this to boost the country level impact, to make a difference for the children and youth that cannot go to school or whose education is not of the quality that is their right. So we have also received some other questions beforehand, and I'd like to hand over to Maria Agnese, the coordinator of the Global Education Cluster, to ask her, so how will the Hub specifically work with other sectors? We have heard it, migration, peace, health actors, child protection. How will we precisely do that? Maria Agnese, if you can unmute and come in, please. We cannot hear you yet.
Great. I was not allowed to unmute. So somebody from your side, you had to unmute me. Thank you so much. And I would like to congratulate you, the Swiss government, for the launch of the initiative. We are very excited also for the participation of many partners and also new ones on the line. So with regard to the specific question, as you have heard, the membership of this hub is considered by different members at the normative level, technical, operational level, and within those organizations, you have the different sectors as well. Like if we take the clusters, the Global Education Cluster is part of an intersectoral forum where we have other 10 sectors. So the collaboration at that level, at the operational coordination level, happens on a daily basis. So we have a very structured way of operating from technical tools, operational, coordination-wise, within the clusters. You have that organization also within the agencies where you have, for example, child protection, water and sanitation, and you have health, and there is a structured work happening already there. But of course, we know very well that within those, or among all these structures, there are silos, there are divisions that have to do also with the way the system is structured around funding, around planning. But the beauty of this hub is exactly that, bringing together all this variety of actors, including academia and donors and government. It's a forum of political influence, policy discussions and analysis to identify how we overcome those structural barriers that really make collaboration between and among sectors more difficult. So on the technical level, there is a lot already there. On the political and structural level, the hub will certainly make a significant contribution to overcoming those barriers.
Thank you very much, Maria Agnese, and I very much look forward to working with you and your team and all the coordinators who are based in crisis contexts. Reading from the chat box, there's also a question about how we will engage with SDG 4's commitment for lifelong learning and support to youth and adult learning. Of course, children and youth are only protected if they are in a community that can protect them and that is thriving. So the focus of the hub is primarily on children and youth, but given our membership, we can also engage in research about EIE data or about education for teachers, but this is not our main focus. There's also a question about how we will engage with teachers and schools. I think this is also still to be defined going forward, but I can assure you that the guiding principles definitely include localization. We are very much committed to working to better engage, to empower and to promote the work of local actors and communities. And this, of course, does include the people who are teaching, who are engaging around education and schools, and their voice and their need will guide our actions. With that, I see that we are coming to the full 1.5 hours that we have set aside, and I know everyone is incredibly busy. So I engage again, I ask again my colleague Gabriela to share her contact details to learn more about how you can engage and how you can become a member of the hub. And with that, I would then hand over to Meritxell Relaño, the Deputy Director of UNICEF here in Geneva, for the closing remarks to this launch of the Geneva Global Hub for Education in Emergencies.
Oops. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and dear colleagues from around the world. And thank you for your active participation and the questions today. There are many more questions that we'll try to respond, of course. And many thanks to Jasmine Sharif for the very dynamic moderation and passionate moderation. I'm really pleased to say that we have now officially launched the Geneva Global Hub for Education in Emergencies. And I hope that we have galvanized all of you to be thinking about how we can contribute, how you can contribute to this, to the success of this hub. So today we have put the spotlight on neglected children and youth who cannot access education due to crisis, violence, disaster, who are displaced or on the move, and to share some ideas on how the hub can make a difference despite these enormous challenges. We have heard loud and clear, school is my life. I'm going to remember this for the rest of the day. We heard personal testimonies on the barriers to education, how attacks and insecurity are impacting children and youth, and the priority that education is given by communities and children facing complex emergencies. I myself have served in Yemen for the last several years, so I know very well what we are talking about. Engaging with children and young people themselves is the only way we will find out what tools work from them and what kind of learning and skills they need to build the futures they want to see. We have also discussed the importance of strong leadership, and we have seen in action effective coordination with longer-term initiatives and prioritization of education financing to improve learning outcomes for emergency-affected children in countries such as Lebanon, and the tremendous work that is already being done. But there is much more to be achieved. There is a lot of work to be done still. Some concrete policy objectives for strengthening collaboration and integrated approaches across the development, humanitarian, peace and migration spectrum to boost country-level impact of the hub were put forward to inspire political and financial commitments and make the necessary changes needed to deliver safe and quality education to crisis-affected children and youth. The message is clear. There is now a spotlight on education at a global level, national level, and even community and household level, and a collective agreement that we need to aspire to achieve more in the realm of education in emergencies. We are stronger together, and the work of the hub will take the collective efforts of all and the creativity of all of us to move this forward. This is not a substitute to other efforts, but is complementary to other efforts, and it's essential that we make links to the Geneva Global Education Emergencies Hub and profit from the potential that Geneva presents. It has never been more urgent, given the current trends on school reopening reversals globally, that we harness this attention as a catalyst to maximize synergies with other sectors, as well as document the collective impact of our collaborations and achievements in areas such as evidence-based policy, innovation, and reimagining how education is provided in a post-COVID era. UNICEF, please allow me to speak on behalf of UNICEF now, as a recognized leader in education in emergencies, has achieved significant results for children in fragile and risk-prone contexts by integrating humanitarian development and peace-building programs in over 190 countries for the right to education of every child. In 2021, UNICEF will continue reimagining education, including through new digital delivery platforms, to provide every child and young person with education and skills they need. We are now developing tools to measure and expand progress in this key area, which together with the hub will find new ways of reaching those children left behind in emergencies. Also, as co-lead of the Global Education Cluster, together with Save the Children, UNICEF is committed to respond to growing education needs of children and youth in humanitarian contexts by contributing to the coordinated responses. The hub will complement and enhance these efforts. It's time for the hard work to begin. Over the next months, we will be sharing updates with all of you about the activities and achievements of the hub. We aim to energize partners and exchange with you on how the hub can make a difference going forward. To the states, organizations, and institutions interested in supporting this initiative, your engagement and community is needed and very much welcome as we aim to build a wide partnership around our shared areas of focus. Let me reiterate my gratitude to all our speakers today for their excellent interventions, and we really look forward to work together closely to lead the hub to success and contribute so that all crisis-affected and displaced children and youth have access to a safe and quality education. Thank you and goodbye. Shukran, merci, muito obrigada, gracias. Ciao.